Hey, this is Andrew with Mock Till You Drop, and in this video I want to talk about 4 tips when preparing for the ethics section of the CFA exam. Now, although our channel is intended for level 1 candidates, the main ethics reading for all 3 levels is exactly the same. Therefore, this video will be relevant to all 3 levels. So let's get started with tip number 1. Now, this is probably one of the only topics where I would recommend reading the actual CFA book rather than a prep provider's. There's a couple of reasons for this. First, because there's so many details in the ethics reading. If you use other reading material other than the actual CFA book, you might be missing some important details. The second reason is that the ethics reading in the CFA books is not really a difficult reading. Sure, it's a long section. However, I think it's written in a way that most people can comprehend. And I don't think you need a prep provider to help you interpret or better understand the material. If you do want to shorten the reading a little bit, you can skip over those examples that you use throughout. I don't think these parts of the reading really add any additional value. And you'll definitely see plenty of examples of the concepts as you go through practice problems afterwards, and they'll most likely be a lot more effective than the examples in the ethics reading. All right, moving on to tip number 2. Try to do additional practice problems outside the CFA book, ideally that are different and test different concepts. While you may get some sufficient practice problems at the end of the other readings in the CFA books, there's really not enough at the end of the ethics section. And because of how much detail is in the ethics reading, CFAI can probably generate tens of thousands of questions that would each seem different from one another. So what I would emphasize the most when doing practice problems, rather than relying on just the solution, is to go back to the ethics reading in the actual CFA book and try to understand the underlying concept. All right, before we get to tip number 3, I highly recommend that you check out our free mock exam on our website. I'll post it in the link below this video. And if you're interested in more mock exams, we have an entire package on our website. Also, if you're getting value of this video, please smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on our latest videos. All right, tip number 3. So when you're not actively studying, try to spend some time casually reading through the ethics section. A good example of this is when you've already done your studying for the day, perhaps before you go to bed. Just read a few pages from the ethics reading, preferably from the actual CFA book. And like I mentioned from tip number 1, the ethics section is not really a difficult reading. So I think it's definitely manageable to read a few pages per day in the ethics section, in addition to the actual active studying that you're doing during the day. And if you think about this, if you were to casually read about a few pages per day, you could essentially finish the entire ethics section in a little over a month. And if you were to skip over those examples in the reading and save that time for doing actual practice problems, you could probably finish in under a month. So if you're studying for a few months, you could have read the ethics section about 5 times over. And that's just casual reading a few pages per day. It doesn't count, the active studying that you're doing throughout the day. All right, last and final tip. For just about every reading that's tested on the exam, you'll find that pretty much every question is kind of black and white. And what I mean by that is that you can usually reference a question from the exam and locate it somewhere in the CFA book to find the answer. That's not so much the case with the ethics portion of the exam. You'll find that the ethics portion has a lot more gray areas, and they're not so black and white or transparent. So I think the key takeaway here is that you have to think about the ethics question in terms of what is the best option, not so much what could be the right answer. And how you can do that or get better at that, it's just to focus on what I said from tips number 1 through 3. Spend as much time as you can in the ethics reading, and get a feel for how CFAI wants you to think about ethics. And that's just something you will pick up over time. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Let us know in the comment section what you think, and thanks for watching.